Hello, and welcome back to World 4. That's the next one. Okay, so the first thing we do in World 4 is just grab the Hungry Luma. Uh, like I said earlier, I usually just wait till I see 100 less than you need, so when I see 1100 I do the backflip. This level is Sweet Mystery Galaxy. It's one of the hard galaxies, 90%. There are some flutters in this galaxy that I do go for, but you don't have to go for them, really. So straight away, there is a flutter that you can do right here that brings you all the way to the common middle. That flutter is kind of tough, so I don't go for it in this run. I just run over and grab the bulberry. Which, by the way, in case you don't know, the bulberry, it makes these platforms appear. It's not like they're invisible, like you need to have the berry to stand on them. They just like come into existence when you eat the berry. So you come here and then you just keep going to get the common medal. This one can also be an easy one to forget depending on the strats you do. Casually, it took me forever to find this common medal, so it's right here. So this is the first flutter I do, which is pretty easy. So I start facing directly right. I hold completely up for the first part of this flutter, and then when the camera changes, I change it to up left. And there you go. And I grab that bullberry as I go. And you want to land here because I mentioned it earlier, but if you flutter for too long, Yoshi's gonna just lose all of his speed. Um, so you can't really go huge distances without losing your speed. So you want to make sure you land on this platform that has the spinny green guy. And then I just start a new flutter. And this flutter here I do it straight up left. But if you want, you can do it like closer to up, and that'll get you a better angle. But I figure that for beginners this is more consistent, even though it's a little slower. And this is another flutter I do that you don't have to do. If you're not comfortable with this flutter, you can just hit all the flip switches, and a launch star will show up. But I'm going to do this flutter in this round because I don't think it's that hard. But if you can't do it, then go ahead and grab the flip switches. So this is you pretty much just jump and do pretty much the same strategy that I did in Fearsome Fleet, which is start the flutter by holding straight up and then move it slightly to the right. If you ever wanting to do a flutter and you want to pretty much go straight, that's how you set the flutters up. And then just a few flutters will get you over to this last section. One important thing about this section, for some reason if you fall down here, there's like an invisible like plane you can stand on. If that happens and you fall onto this dumb plane, you just long jump this way for like it's like 30 seconds before you actually hit the actual death plane. So it's like there's a giant box down here that you don't die on, and the only way to die is to go this way. I don't know why that happens. I think it has to do with if you come here without the launch star, then the death plane just doesn't load. So yeah, that makes it a little more risky to do this flutter, but I still think it's not too hard and it's worth it even as a beginner. So yeah, and then you just pretty much climb this section to get the star. If you're really comfortable with this flutter, you can actually do a different version of the flutter where you side flip and then go straight into the star. If you want to see what that looks like, you can check out Viper's PB. I know he does it that way. So yeah. And then we already saw this part. So World 4 is one of the hardest worlds, if not the hardest world. And the levels here are probably going to require the most practice of any world. But I do try to explain my best and do the strategies that I think you could get down with the least amount of practice as a beginner. So Flipsville 1, I actually do a lot of strats that look very tough, but they aren't that hard at all, and I'll explain them as we go. Yeah, Swing Mystery is a pretty hard level. That one might take some practice if you go for those flutters, but shouldn't be too bad. So Flipsville 1, you pretty much just skip like this entire first planet. Um, what I do is I backflip directly onto this wall, pretty much between this like oven mitt and this spoon, and then I wall jump and land up here. So I have a specific setup for this, which is I long jump directly down right, and that'll land me onto here, and then I long jump directly up right, and that'll land me pretty much right on the common middle. If you want to play it more safe, then go for it, but that's what I do. So if you want to look at the input display for how I do that. And so here, you can long jump right from this platform, but it's kind of risky because if you hit the fence, you'll like fall and die. So I think that playing a bit more safe as a beginner is better. So I walk back here, and I'm just going to long jump right off the platform to the right. And this may look scary and hard, but it's really not. So, and then the gravity's going to change. So the way I do it is like I spun kind of early here. What you'll see is Mario will kind of like his direction will change. So instead of facing this way, he'll start facing this way. At that point is when you want to spin. Pretty much like you can spin pretty much like right after the peak of his long jump. You can spin and you'll be just fine. But I spun a bit earlier than I normally would, but I make it, so it's not a big deal. If you're a little bit off and you get a wall jump, that's also fine, as long as you can still make it up here. Like I said, this looks pretty daunting, but it's not the hardest thing. It's actually really easy, and it skips a whole lot of the level, so definitely recommend going for this. For this part, you just triple jump up to the top of this roof. And this is another trick that looks very scary, but it's surprisingly easy, which is why I go for this run. So when you get up here, you pretty much want to make sure that like Mario's foot is in the roof, like his left foot. You want to be inside of this roof, and then you want to be like in the forward half of the roof. So you don't want to start this like way back here, like right about here, a little bit more forward is fine, but not too far forward. Um, so it's not like super precise, but you want to be like a little bit closer than half of this roof, I would say. And if I was a little closer, like that would also be fine if I was like standing right here. And then you backflip. The important thing about this backflip is to keep your angle completely straight. So you'll notice with the input display is that I don't start holding up until after I've backflipped. If you start holding up too early and you mess up your angle, then you'll probably die. So yes, to review, you triple jump up here, make sure like Mario's foot is in the roof, make sure he's like a little bit over halfway on this roof towards the camera, backflip, and then only after you backflip start holding up, and hold A this whole time. And as you can see, the input display, I'm just holding up and holding A. And so if you want to, what you can do is you can spin about here, and it'll get you to the Starsh room. And if you start this backflip like closer up, then you're gonna go into the Starsh room's gravity field because it's actually really huge. But if you're not comfortable going all the way here, you can just spin and then go to the Starsh room, and that only loses a couple seconds because you can just take the launch star over to this planet. Or if you keep going, what you want to do is you want to wait before this green platform touches the top of your screen. And that's it, and then you spin. And it's actually really easy. It looks like a really huge, difficult skip, but it's super easy. You just backflip, hold up, and then spin when this touches the top of your screen. So like right here is when I would spin. And I do. So I'm going to show that again. And you can look in the input display. So yeah, like I said, super not too hard. If you want to cut it early and go to the Starshoom, that's really easy. The gravity field is huge. But yeah, I do recommend, at the very least, trying to learn the one that goes all the way to the green planet because it's got a very easy visual cue for when to spin. And then you just come over here and you ground pound Glamdozer. So this fight is pretty easy, but possible to mess up if you're too fast. And I'll explain how that works. So straight away, you just go back and go through the grate and ground pound through again. Just one hit off of her. And so next you want to stand like right here where her face is, but obviously you don't want to be too far up or else you'll miss the ground pound. So my visual cue for this is she's gonna like do a jump and she's gonna like stomp. As soon as her feet hit the ground, I do one full jump by holding A. And then after Mario starts falling back down is when I ground pound. So jump, I press A, and then after the peak of his jump, after he started to fall back down, is when I press Z. And that usually works. If you're kind of scared of doing that, that's fine. The visual cue that will always work is you'll notice that Glamdozer starts doing this little dance. Like, he started doing this little dance. As soon as this dance starts, you're able to hit him. So, or her, I guess, I think, canonically. Um, so yeah, if you want to be 100% safe, you can wait until she does this little dance. But yes, the visual cue for me is to wait for her to stomp, do a full jump, and then on the way down I ground pound. And that visual cue is the same one that I use for the second hit. Also, the camera is a bit different here than it was for the first hit. Depending on how quickly you ground pound back through, the camera will be the same. So if I had immediately ground pounded right here, then the camera would be the same. But since I waited, the camera kind of changed to the opposite. It doesn't actually affect anything. Just thought I would mention it. And my visual cue here is the same. She's going to stomp her feet, and then I'm going to jump. And after the peak, when I start falling back down is when I'm going to ground pound. Once again, if you want the visual cue, you can wait till she starts doing her dance. So yeah, if you're afraid of going too early, then it's not a big deal to wait an extra like half second to make sure you get it. Because if you hit her the backup, or if she's invulnerable and you ground pound too early, then you go through, you don't get the hit on her, and you get hit, and then you have to, your backup is to do the casual strats, which are much harder and slower than these strats. So just keep that in mind. Is being too late is better than being too early because you have a much more lenient time if you wait longer. I don't know if this might be the first time that I can mention this, but after you get the male toad here, the fastest movement back to the button is just a single long jump. I've probably mentioned that before, but just so you know. So for this, obviously, this first planet, you can just completely skip by just going over to Launch Star. If you're willing to be a bit risky, what you can do is you can long jump, land about here, and then do another long jump, and adjust your angle in the air, and then you can get straight to the Launch Star with just two long jumps. I chose a much safer strat, which is to pretty much just stop and then jump over this little wall. I recommend doing that if you haven't practiced the other method I described. So this is a kind of difficult section to do optimally, I guess. It might require some practice to get the cycle I'm going to do here. If you want to go for a slower cycle, that's fine. So the first thing I'm going to do is long jump this way, and then wall jump off these blocks. And this gets this drill. If you want to do a backflip and then end up hitting this coin, then that's fine, but you'll probably end up being a cycle late, and you're going to have to watch the coin because it spawns a bunch of coins. And on top of that, you're going to grab coins, which loses another second and a half. So, but if you can't get this like wall jump off this block, then you can go for that. It's not a big deal. And so once you grab the drill, you want to make sure you drill like around here. You don't want to drill too far over, or else you'll accidentally hit this coin, which spawns other coins. So you don't want to do that. So you want to move until Mario's head is at least like partially underneath these brown blocks, and then just spin. And if you do it right, you can go straight to this room. The rest of the cycles are mostly easy. So one thing to mention about this part, though, is when you drill through, these guys can be on such a cycle that you drill through and it hits you. So the only thing I really have to say about this is make sure that when you drill through here, you don't get hit by the fuzzies. So you want to make sure that they're in about the position that they are here. So to do this next cycle, I mess it up in this run, but I'll still explain how to do it. So the gravity is going to switch Mario down. So I'm going to stand here in the center of this platform. When it switches Mario down, when you hit the ground, you immediately start running right. You can see I waited a little too long to start running, but you immediately start running right. And then you want to drill when you're just left of these arrows here. Just at the very left of these arrows. If you time it correctly, then as soon as this cutscene finishes, the cycle is going to switch, and you'll be able to just drill and go through. But of course I messed that up here, so I need to wait a little. That's fine. When you go through here, I don't know why this is, but if you hold an angle perpendicular to the star, you'll actually be able to get the star immediately. So you see when I do this drill, I hold down. Well, I should say it's more consistent if you hold perpendicular. So I'm holding down because that makes it more consistent to get this star immediately. I still don't get it, but that's fine. I do recommend holding down, though, for this drill here. That makes it a little more consistent. If you mess that up and you mess up the cycle and you don't get the star immediately, that's fine. But then what you can do is you land and then you can just jump and do another spin. Because the hitbox when Mario is in this animation is actually like huge. It's like this big. So you can pretty much just do a single jump and spin and you'll grab the star. if you don't get it immediately. If you get it immediately, then obviously you don't have to worry about that. But I'm glad I messed that up in this run, so I could at least show the backup and the strat that you're probably gonna end up doing most of the time. Sweet Mystery Comet is another mission like Puzzle Plank Comet that is way more difficult than it seems on the outside. Uh, there's not a lot to say about it other than all you want to do is make sure that you keep Yoshi moving and have him stop as little as possible. If you do that, you'll be fine. If not, then you're going to be a little slow. So it's not a huge deal, but you'll see what I mean. Like, the movement here is actually pretty tight. But the important thing is you keep Yoshi moving. Because you'll see that there's going to be a situation where he can bonk into a wall unless you have like a really tight movement. So I'll point that out as we get there, but yeah. So for these, like, this row of coins, if you walk right down the middle, you can actually grab both coins by just holding up, and that's what I do here. So I grab both rows of coins by just holding up, by making sure I'm right in the center. By doing that, you can get through this whole section with one bulb berry. If you need to go back for an extra, that's fine. But you can, if you just walk right down the center, you'll get them all. This is what I mean. Like, there's like these platforms here. There's like 3 jumps here that you have to do, and if you can do them without Yoshi losing speed, that's optimal. Like, you see, I kind of stopped him from losing his speed on these last 2. It's pretty hard to do, but it is optimal. I skipped this, but there's a bulb berry right over here. If you need to grab it, or if you're afraid of running out of this one, then you can do that. These 2 rows of coins are much harder to walk right down the center because the angle is really weird. So I usually just kind of like wiggle my control stick to make sure I grab them all. That's another section where you have to like do 2 jumps without Yoshi losing his momentum. And then this cycle here of this moving platform can be different spots depending on how good your movement was. So that cycle was okay. Just keep in mind that it can be different. And then there you go. Like I said, a pretty tough star despite not having any like tricks or anything. It's one of those stars where good movement can save a lot of time. So yeah, good movement is the most important thing, which is what I'm trying to prove by doing this run. The next star is Flipsville Comet. This one's also really hard. It's like Flipsville 2, but the cycles are much more tough. I show the easier strategy for this level, but even the easier strategy can be very, very difficult for beginners, so I guess try to get the cycles that I get, but if you're a cycle or 2 behind, then it's fine. Like, the worst that can happen is you're, like, a few cycles behind, and while slow, you know, it's nothing crazy. It's just one of those things that you gotta get the feel for as you go. So the first thing I do here is a backflip, and then I wall jump. Excuse me. So I do a backflip and wall jump, and then I fall to grab this bottom, like, coin. And then I spin immediately after I grab it. And then I fall on this drill. And you'll notice that when I hit the drill, I'm holding up. That's because I want to, like, center myself. I want to get closer to these 3 coins, because I said that Mario's hitbox gets really big when he spins. So if I'm, like, closer to these coins, you don't need to be super close, but like close-ish, and then I spin. So, and that grabs those 3 coins. That first room is probably the most difficult, um, at least as far as movement goes. The rest is just, are you fast enough to make the cycle? Um, so yeah, that one might require some practice, but the rest shouldn't be too bad. For this one, you want to leave these farther 2 coins, because then on the way down, if you drill right on top of this line of coins, then you'll also end up picking this one up too. So, and then that sets you up to get these 3 pretty easily. And then yeah, you just spin down, you just keep shaking here. So at this point, this cycle is kind of hard to make. One thing to remember here is to hold down during this. I find that holding down consistently gets me all through all 4 of these coins. So I'm holding down. If I wasn't holding down, Mario probably wouldn't have grabbed this coin. So I make sure I hold down to 100% consistently grab this coin. And then you should get here right as the cycle changes. And so then immediately side flip. And when Mario's in the center of this circle, you can drill. Like I said, Mario's hitbox gets really big with the drill, so you will grab all those coins, even though it look like you might not. So this line of coins, so I'm going to do a double jump, wall jump, and that'll give me all of these coins. So the only thing to remember is for your first jump, make sure you grab these bottom 2 coins. And then for the double jump, hold A the whole time. And then the wall jump, also hold A the whole time. And if you do that, you'll 100% of the time get all of these coins. So first jump, grab these 2. Second jump and wall jump, hold A. And there you go. And this is the same as this room over here. You immediately side flip and drill. This one's kind of tight. If you mess this one up, it's okay. If you mess this other one up over here, then that's also okay. But it's the same concept. And the rest is pretty self-explanatory. One thing I should mention here is I do a buffered triple jump. So you see I do a double jump, and then the gravity changes, and, well, I don't actually get the triple jump, but if you do it right, then when the gravity changes, you can get a triple jump, even though there was like a gravity change. Yeah, Mario does that. In certain things, such as bouncing on lava, the type of jump Mario did is preserved. So even though the gravity changes, you could get a triple jump out of this. I mess it up, which is fine as long as you make this cycle. And yeah, once again, just drill down and drill back up. Same thing, I'm holding left here because I find that it gets you that star more consistently. Maybe holding right would be better. I haven't actually tested that, but either way I missed this. So I just jump and drill. And there you go. So it's a pretty technical star, pretty tough. If you're a couple cycles behind when you're starting out, that's fine, but with some practice you should be able to at least sometimes get that. If you at least know the movement and know like the little things, then you'll be able to get it eventually consistently. It's not really supermassive, which this star isn't in the advanced route. I'm showing the beginner route. You want to go for supermassive. Don't do the honey bloom route. The honey bloom route's hard. The supermassive route for a beginner is definitely better. If you're good at honey bloom, you can do it, but chances are, if you're watching this, you're probably not good enough at honey bloom. Just how it is. But if you are, feel free. So right away we have these pipes and those swamps. We have cycles to deal with. So first you're going to want to long jump like diagonally over this way and immediately change your camera twice to the right. You're going to press D right twice. And that'll change Mario's camera to the side. And then do this long jump and press D right one more time. And there you go. You set up the camera. That's all there is to it. You first long jump diagonally, D right twice. One more long jump, D right again. And that's it. Now then you can grab this common medal. So right here I'm doing a trick called pipe jump. I've mentioned earlier multiple times that platforms moving beneath you, if they're moving up, then you can jump off with that same momentum that they're moving up with. And that's what I do here. While this pipe is moving up, I want to do a long jump over to this block. This could be kind of tough. As a beginner, if you can't get it, that's fine. You can just go around, and you'll be like 1 or 2 cycles slow with these thwomps. But I figured I could show it. So, yeah, as it's going up, pretty much you don't want to jump too early, because if you jump too early, you won't get enough height. But if you jump too late and the pipe stops moving up, then you're not going to get anywhere near enough height. So you want to jump like when the pipe is getting close to its peak, but not too close. Um, I I I played it kind of risky there. That was a little not that was a little close to not working. Because I almost long jumped too late. But that's fine. And then the timing for this spin, the only thing I can really say about it is it's probably later than you would expect. I know Viper, what he does is during this, he'll press D right, and that helps him like get a better idea of his depth perception compared to this block. Um, so you could do that if you want to do that, if you find that more easy, I guess. You can do that, but not required. But yeah, the thing with this spin is it's likely going to be later than you expect. And then you can make it up here. As Mario, this trick is kind of tough. If you can't get it, don't feel bad. You can go around. But yeah, I figured I would show it off. It definitely takes some practice to get down. This planet is pretty easy. You pretty much just run, grab the drill, and you want to drill like right on this Koopa's shadow. Like when you're like over his shadow, you want to drill, and then you just shake. You see, I'm just shaking like crazy. This next section can maybe be kind of hard. It's not too bad. Just make sure you don't fall here. Maybe like bonk and fall and die. It's not fun. You saw me change my camera there. Don't do that. I mean, if it makes it better, you can change your camera to make sure that your face that is facing this way. If that makes it easier for you. I mean, you don't have to, obviously. It technically would probably change the cycles on these wigglers because they're not on camera, but I haven't actually messed with that. And the only thing about this long jump here is you want to kind of play it safe. If you want, you could do a single jump onto this platform and then another single jump onto this platform. But I do a long jump here. You want to control your speed so you don't accidentally bonk here. So I make sure to slow down so I don't bonk. And then just take launch stars. And then this isn't too hard. Just make sure you don't hit the wigglers. You can kind of like walk around them. So you can make the long jump between these platforms without spinning. If you long jump like almost as late as you can, then you can make it to the next one without spinning. As Mario, it's a little tough, but not too hard. Like you see, I long jump like pretty close to the edge, and I don't have to spin. If you want to spin for safety, then I recommend that. In the grand scheme of things, one extra spin isn't gonna ruin your run or anything. So that's like the hard part of World 4 in my opinion. The rest of World 4 is a bit easier until we get to the Bowser level. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that. There's some hard bits of Chomp Works and Starshine Beach. So the first thing I'm doing, I collect these star bits and I don't throw them out. You don't have to do that. I'll explain why I do that. It's for like a minor optimization in a moment. But I do grab these star bits. And so I go for the easier trick here, which is I'm going to long jump onto this section and then wall jump off of it to get up. What you can do, if you're comfortable, is for this slope, it acts like a normal slope. Like you can't walk up it, you can't jump on it, unless you're on the very, very edge. If you're on the very edge of this slope, you can do normal jumps up to the lever, and that's what like Nemi and Viper do. Uh, so if you want to try that, you can. Not required. I'm going for the easier strat, which is just a wall jump off of this bit. And then don't forget the Scholar Medal. So, and then what I do is I like to walk down to the bottom of this blue platform and then just do a diagonal long jump that way. And that gets me right on top of this. So that little optimization I was talking about is I'm going to shoot this Octumba with star bits, and then I'm going to run into him before the chomp smushes him. What that does is it prevents him from spawning a coin, which if he spawns a coin, then you're going to accidentally pick up the coin in the launch star. Tiny optimization, doesn't even matter because I usually end up getting coins somewhere else anyways on accident, so just something to note. Mine optimization, you don't have to worry about it if you don't want to, but it's something cool. One important thing about this launch star here is, for whatever reason, if you enter this launch star while you're in a long jump, then the next planet, you don't have to do a camera cancel. In fact, you can't even do a camera cancel on the next planet. So you want to make sure that you long jump into this launch star. There's a couple of launch stars in the game that are like that. I don't know why they do that. It might have something to do with the cutscene ending. I couldn't tell you. But so yeah, I enter this launch star while in a long jump. And you'll see when I land, I'm able to start moving immediately. So yeah, here you could just do a lava boost, jump in lava and go into the star. So up here I actually do a trick that's kind of hard and easy to miss, but there's no risk for going for it. So I am going to show it off. So first you go up left diagonal, and then you long jump onto this green platform. Now this green platform is really weird. So what you want to do is you want to long jump and aim your long jump so you land like on this middle bit. And then you want to walk onto this green bit for just a moment. You want to walk onto this green bit and then long jump pretty much as soon as after you've only walked like one step. Like you see I walk like a step on this green section before long jumping away. If you do that, then this like teeter-totter will go this way very slowly, but it'll make it so that when you spawn the chomp, like you see how it's kind of slowly moving down like this, it'll make it so that when you spawn the chomp, you can do the first chomp cycle. Because if you mess this trick up and this teeter-totter is too high up, then this chomp will get broken. But if you time your long jump off of this teeter-totter correctly, then this first chomp will be able to hit the will be able to go right on top of the teeter-totter. So if you can't get that, don't worry about it. You could just obviously run over here and push it down for the next chomp. But yeah. In this section, you don't really need to worry. These first flip switches are red, the second ones are blue. Just make sure you get here before the launch star spawns and make sure that the chomp doesn't fall. And this next section is pretty much an auto-scroller. All you need to make sure you do is get to this platform before the chomp does, or not this chomp. It's impossible to get this first chomp cycle without two-player. But so you want to make sure you get to this platform before this chomp spawns, or before he makes it here, which is very lenient as you can see. And then you just want to make sure the chomp doesn't break anywhere else. And if you don't have that much health, you can grab a coin. I think I do end up grabbing the coin, just to show. Or maybe I don't. If you want to, you can grab a coin. But if you have no coins, then you do need to be aware that that will lose time. This button, timing this button is kind of tough, especially in the Comet. but it's not too hard. Also, I'm doing big backflips here because when you step on the button, it does like a little bounce. So I'm jumping off when it bounces up, which gives me that momentum. Well, yeah, long jump into that star as it spawns. If you get hit by the chomp and it knocks you back, that's whatever. So yeah, chomp works. Fun one. So Chompworks 2, in a lot of ways to Chompworks 1 is kind of similar, but different. The first planet is pretty much the exact same. I'm gonna skip this. Okay. um, so yeah, like I said, I do the same thing I did in Chompworks 1, but you can do the same thing with jumping up this planet. If you, another thing to notice is these cycles in the background, um, they're moving when you're on this first planet. So if you do the movement I do, then getting the first cycle over here is impossible. You can't do it. It only saves a couple seconds, so it's not a huge deal, but I just want you to know that you won't be able to get it if you do these strategies. In order to get it, you do need to jump up the edge of this and get into the launch star as quickly as possible, pretty much. So yeah, it's a cycle that is hard to get even for really good runners, so don't sweat it, but just thought I'd point that out. On this planet, you can do a frame perfect jump. If you want to mash A, you can get a jump out of it, but yeah, I mean, it's not a big deal. Luckily, the last planet doesn't move here, so you can be as sloppy as you want here, and the cycles won't be progressing. So this first one, you want to go through it, spin, and the second one, you want to long jump into the lava. And then after your second bounce, jump. And then just long jump across this and do that. Pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, like I said, this section, the earliest cycle here is, you're probably not going to get it if you go for these strategies. In fact, you're definitely not going to get it. Like, I had to wait for this platform. Normally, you wouldn't have to wait for the platform if you got the early cycle. And yeah, the only thing about the spring power-up kind of sucks, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. The movement's kind of silly, though. So for this particular, like, this gear, what I do is when I jump off of it, I'm holding left, and this gear, when I jump off of it, I'm holding right. That's it. It seems self-explanatory, but I've messed that up before because I was holding, like, neutral or something. And that's jump works too. Alright, for Starshine Beach 1, I go for a couple infinite flutters here, but I think they're pretty easy. And I definitely recommend you try to learn them. If you can't, then it's fine. You'll end up losing some time, obviously, but these flutters aren't like minute-long time saves, you know, they're small things. So what I do here is I'm going to long jump straight right, move the control stick with Mario, and as soon as I land in the water, I'm going to spin. The important thing for this is to know that you need to be holding A and Z while you do this. So I'm holding A, Z, and then I'm going to spin, and he'll just go right back in the water. So just hold A and Z and fine. So this first flutter it's easy. It's only like 3 infinite flutters. You don't need to like do any crazy angles or whatever. You grab this crab here and you do side flip and then you do some flutters up to here. The backup, or if you don't want to do this, what you would want to do is you would instead walk around here with Yoshi and then grab a spiny from the Lackey 2. And you would grab the spiny and then use it to break the cage. Breaking this cage open with the crab is actually kind of finicky. Because for some reason, I mean, you can see the arrow. It's just weird the way it like works. So what you want to do is walk into the cage, walk up to it as close as possible, and just kind of walk into it for like a half a second. You'll know that you'll get it if you see the arrow go through the cage. So for here, you see the arrow of Yoshi's mouth. You can see it through the other side of the cage. That means you're going to be able to get break the cage. If I were to shoot the crab, say like right here, it wouldn't work. If I shot right now, it wouldn't work. So just run into it for like a fraction of a second, and then that'll guarantee you break this cage. Because I don't know why it does that, but as you can see, like Yoshi kind of like clips into this cage, so when he shoots the shell, he's actually hitting the other side. It's just weird and dumb, but yeah. So yeah, keep that in mind. Like I said, if you go around the other way, you would grab a spiny to break the cage with. That's fine. And so here I do a flutter. This flutter I debated going for, but I figured it was easy enough. It was one of the first flutters I learned. Basically, you want to position yourself so that you're like a little bit like to the left of this tower. I was kind of close forward for this flutter, as you see. I would normally be a little further left, but this flutter does work out. So you want to stand like right at about the left edge of this tower. You know, jump, shake, start by holding straight up, and then after like a flutter or two, switch to between up and upright. And you see that I'm just ever so slightly upright, and I get right on top of this tower. The backup, if you don't want to go for this, you would just walk, and you would grab a spiny, hit this cage over here, which has a blimp fruit in it, and then you would fly up to the star. That's probably like 30 seconds, maybe a little bit more, to do it that way instead, but if you don't want to do this flutter, then you can. Remember, just hit this cage with the spiny and then float up here. So right before I hit this ground, to prevent Mario from going into his like shock animation of landing from a high distance, I just tap A, which makes Yoshi do like a tiny flutter. That makes it so that when I land, I can start walking immediately. So yeah. And then grab this dash pepper and the silver star on top of the Pianta statue. If you do it right, you can keep the dash pepper all the way until this next one. But if not, you'll have to walk for a little bit, which is not a big deal. Make sure you actually eat the dash pepper and not accidentally eat a different fruit. Because if you do that, then you have to wait to eat the dash pepper, and it's just kind of annoying. These guys are in my way. You can just eat them, like I did there. For this, there are two strategies you could do. You can either, if you want to, this is the hard strategy, is when Yoshi, like as soon as Yoshi goes onto this like floating sphere, if you jump off of him, you'll get a ton of height and grab this silver star. What I recommend you do, because what I mentioned is a hard strat, what I recommend you do is you run and then side flip. Side flip as soon as you get here. Do one full flutter and then jump off, and you can grab this other silver star. I was a little far forward there, but I still got it. If you want to side flip when you're like further onto the sphere, you could do that. And then jump off and grab it. And then you're good. This is another common medal that's easy to forget, so it's like in this little tunnel here. Just make sure you get it. I actually make a mistake here. Well, it's not really a mistake, it's just muscle memory. Normally, the fast strat is to grab Yoshi and do a flutter over to the star. The fastest strat, if you're not doing that, is to just do long jumps. But I get on Yoshi, and then I remember that, wait, I'm not going to do this flutter. So I just kind of walk for a moment before I realize, like, I should probably just long jump. So that's what I did. Don't get on Yoshi at all, just do long jumps. Unless you want to do the flutter, then you can, because that's a bit faster. Starship Beach 1 can be a bit tough at first, but a little bit of practice and you should be able to get it pretty quick. So in this level, I do one of the biggest skips in the run, and it's actually surprisingly easy. I'll try my best to explain it. So the casual strategy for Starshine Beach 2 is you need to go into like some tunnel, and then you get a cloud flower, and then you need to like ride a lily pad, and then you need to get on top of this tower, and it takes like multiple minutes. Um, the fast strategy. Let me see if I can explain better. So yeah, what the casual strategy to do, if you really want to, which I highly recommend you learn the trick I'm going to do, is you go underwater here, go up through this tower, hit a button, then it'll spawn a cloud flower, I think like here or here. There's a lily pad, you ride the lily pad all the way over to this tower, and then climb it with the cloud flower. I'm going to do something different. So, first thing you want to do is obviously long jump this way. You don't want to be too close to like this hill, or else your camera can get stuck, and it can be very frustrating. If your camera gets stuck, it kind of happened in Cosmic Cove Secret, if you want to go back and check that out. But if your camera gets stuck, it can be really annoying. And to fix it, you kind of need to go back to where the camera is stuck. Or sometimes that doesn't fix it, and you need to just straight up jump off the cliff and die. It's really annoying, so I recommend keeping your distance from this hill. Some point after you hit the sand, just press D-pad right twice. Done. And then keep long jumping. So you're going to long jump right into the Chuckster's arms, and as you do that, you're switching the camera back. You're going to press left twice and run into the Chucky's arm. And hold up. You want to hold up this whole time. So Mario is going to go to the peak of his jump, and then he's going to fall a little. So my visual cue is I'm going to wait for him to fall like one Mario length. So his hat's here. When his hat's about here is when I'm going to spin. I went a little more than I said, but that's okay. You don't want to spin at the very peak of your jump, or else you won't make this. So you wait for like Mario to fall like one Mario, and then still holding up and holding A, shake with the Wiimote. And then, so this part's kind of weird. When you land on this cloud, you have like, I think 4 frames to do a single jump. You want to be holding neutral on your control stick when you do that. So right before you land, hold neutral and jump. And then when you jump, go back to holding up and spin. The reason for that is because of backward momentum, which I can't believe I haven't mentioned yet. We're like over halfway through the run, and I haven't even mentioned backward momentum. When Mario's moves backwards in the air, he actually goes faster than when he's moving forwards. You get more momentum. So by making sure Mario's back is facing this tower, you ensure that you get a wall jump here when you jump. So yeah, backwards momentum is an important concept. I should probably add that to the description of the World 1 video as well. Yeah, so right before you hit this cloud, switch to neutral, and then jump, and then, spin, wall jump, spin, get the star. And this run, I intentionally missed the jump just to show that you can still do this without getting the jump. So I kind of fall a bit, but I spin to save myself. And I made a mistake. I was holding up this whole time. You want to start holding neutral before you hit this cloud. That's actually a very important part of this trick. I was holding up the whole time. What would have been smart is if I held neutral, like right about here, and then spin. Basically, if you hold up this whole time, this wall jump here is not a guarantee. In fact, you're most likely going to just fall down if you're holding up the whole time. So hold neutral before you land on the cloud. If you miss the jump, that's fine. Just do a spin, wall jump, get on top of the cloud, and then do another spin as soon as the cloud breaks. I hope all that makes sense. So I can show it again. You hold up, spin, hold neutral, and then if you don't get the jump, then spin, wall jump, land on the cloud, spin, wall jump. If you do get the jump, then just jump and wall jump. I recommend you learn this trick. I'm sure this tutorial wasn't like the best way to explain the trick. I'll try to link a resource for that in the description. But I super recommend learning this because the alternative is really, really slow. And this trick, once you get the hang of it, really is not that difficult. So yeah, normally if I held neutral, Mario would have fallen and his back would still be facing the tower. I can't stress that enough. You want his back to be facing the tower when you hit the cloud. And there you go. So what in this run was a 38-second time, if you did the casual strats, it would be like 2.5 minutes. So I recommend going for that. Hello, it's me from the future, and I realized I forgot to mention a backup for missing this trick here in Starshine Beach 2. So I'm going to show you what to do. Let's pretend I just missed the trick. Boom, I fell. So the strategy is then to run over towards this Chuckster, sorry, I did that in the video too, and look up. But yeah, I realized I kind of forgot to show a backup, and I figured for a trick like this, it was a good idea to have a backup, because there's a good chance you fail it in your first few runs. So you want to run back towards the Chuckya and look up. You want to look at these clouds until you see a gap of blue between the tower and the cloud. So right about here, you see there's a tiny gap of blue between the tower and the cloud, so I'm going to run into the Chuckster's arms and hold up. And by doing this, I can try the trick again. And this time I do the jump. I didn't in the video, but that's what the jump looks like. I'll do it again without the jump to show you that you can indeed do it. Oh, that hit him. That's weird. So holding neutral, and then doing this. And there you go. Yeah, thought I would point out a backup for this, because this particular trick is deserving of a backup. So, yeah, back to World 4 on the Chompworks Comet, I guess. Yeah. The casual strategy is really slow. So Chompworks Comet is pretty self-explanatory. It's just the last section of Chompworks 1, which was the auto-scroller. There is a way to speed this up, but I'm not going to go over that in this video because 1, it's pretty risky and difficult, and 2, it only saves like a second or 2, and I don't think that you really need to know it. But basically, you see this Chomp is moving in the background. If you start this Cosmic Clone cutscene on the same frame the Chomp breaks, then you can actually, this Chomp will actually spawn earlier. The next jump will spawn earlier. It's much more tight because getting to this platform before it makes it is actually a lot harder. So if you were going for the faster strat, you would pretty much wait to start these Cosmic Clones until after the Chomp breaks, or like when it's breaking. Obviously I just jump directly into the cutscene because, like I said, only says like a second or 2, and it's risky. So yeah, it's pretty much the same as Jump Works 1, except you need to make sure the Cosmic Clones don't hit you. A good way to do that is to crouch and move around, because since they follow your movements, you can just slowly walk and always be ahead of them. So you need to stand still, but you can just crouch and move around. This last part's kind of probably the hardest. So you want to hit the button. I actually, if I remember correctly, I go almost too late or too early here. If you jump on this too early, then the Cosmic Clone can like come and hit you before you hit the button. The timing for this isn't like too tough, but you just want to make sure that you hit the button when the chomp is on the blue platform, and just make sure the Cosmic Clone doesn't hit you. And then long jump right into the star. So since the star is so short, it's actually possible, and lots of people have, including myself, you can get a 100% frame perfect like TAS level of this level. Um, the stage time for that is 51 seconds and 0.20 milliseconds. So 51.20 is the best possible time you can get here with 1P, even if you're using if you're a TAS. So 2 seconds off the TAS time is pretty good. And like I said, you could bring this down a bit more by spawning the Cosmic Clones when the Chomp is breaking, but I don't recommend going for that because it can make the movement a little more tough. Alright, so next we have Gravity Gauntlet. There's two big tricks in this level. One's called Behind the Castle. One is just a normal lava boost. It doesn't really have a name. So in this run, for this level, I do go for the lava boost. But in the Comet, I go the casual way. Because since we do this level twice, I thought that would be a good opportunity to show you two different possibilities for this star. So I show the lava boost strategy in this star, and if you want to see what the casual strategy looks like, you can check out the World 6 video, because I do it there. The casual strategy is obviously easier. It's a little slower, obviously, but not too big of a deal. As a beginner, I don't recommend going for Behind the Castle. Viper does have a very good tutorial on it, though, and I will link that in the description. I'll link Viper's tutorials in the description. Yeah, I think you have like a playlist. So yeah, I will try to explain the lava boost as best as possible. So if you want to try to learn it, you can. But if not, totally okay. You could just go the normal way and lose like 30, 40 seconds. So the first thing you do here is do a triple jump up to this next section. Good movement. You can make it so you don't actually end up stopping at all. Like if you accidentally hit one of these stairs, that's normal. But with good movement, you can avoid that. So for the lava boost strategy, I long jump up to this life stream. So I'm pretty much gonna explain this level as with the lava boost strategy, and if you want to see how you would do it without the lava boost strategy, check out the comment. And that's all I got to say about that. So you would run over here because we need to get the comet medal. Don't forget this comet medal. Like you can totally forget it, and it would be easy. So the casual strategy would just keep going through the castle, but the strategy I'm doing doesn't. So if you come back and go into this question block and do down right or down left long jump, then you'll pretty much go right back to the spot you need to be. So what I do is I stand slightly above this crack in the tile, long jump to the right, and right before I hit this lava wall, I spin. So you spin and then keep holding right. So I hold right until right before this black hole goes off screen. So right about like here-ish, maybe a little later, like right before it goes off screen, right about here would be fine. I start holding left, and you'll see that here. See, I start holding left. And then Mario, you're going to see him switch and start going this way. At that point, you want to pretty much immediately switch your control stick to be up left. And then if you do that, you'll land right here. This was really close, because I started holding left a little late. So you want to make sure. I'll show you that again. You long jump, hold right before the black hole goes off screen. Start holding left. Mario switches, and then start holding up left, and then you'll land on this platform. Like I said, if you're a beginner and you're not comfortable doing that, then don't do it. I'll show you the other strategy in the Comet, which is going to be in the World 6 video. But yeah, this is the second fastest way to do this level. The other way would be to do behind the castle, which I don't recommend going for behind the castle at a beginner level. But yeah, that lava boost is kind of tough. So if you don't get it, then don't worry about it. One thing to mention though is if you die and you fail the lava boost, and you choose to go for it again, that's fine, but remember to get the common medal. Because if you die, then you're going to respawn back right here. And, maybe in your head you're like, okay, I'm just going to go do the lava boost, and you'll just go left and then, go back down and try the lava boost. Don't forget to grab the common medal above this block. You really want to grab this common medal. Yeah. I guess I'll show it one more time since we're here. So yeah, I'll start holding left a little earlier than I did here, and it won't be as scary and tight. For here, what I do is I just backflip. The thing to keep in mind about this backflip is hold down the entire time. So I backflip, I hold down, I hold A, and then when I spin, I'm going to get caught in this gravity field. Yeah, but just make sure you're holding down for this entire backflip until you ground pound. I kind of got caught in that field, but it's not a big deal. So I mentioned how in World 2 that you can break both of these locks, or you can break two of these at the same time. What's worth mentioning is there's actually kind of a sort of a setup for it in this level. Basically, as soon as you land with the launch star, if you hold directly up, long jump, and keep holding up the whole time and ground pound at the exact spot, then you can get the double lock trick. It's still very precise and still very difficult to get, but instead of having to work in like the X direction and the Z direction, since the launch star sets you up perfectly for the Z direction, you just have to set up the X position. I don't even try that here. I just do a backflip onto this, which is technically a little faster, but whatever. And I just get them individually. So this Bowser fight is mostly the same as the first one we saw, but a little different, and I will explain the differences. So the first thing you'll notice is Bowser's going to punch immediately. To make him punch as soon as possible, you want to land and then directly run up. And then he'll punch immediately. And to make him, and you also notice he shoots out these circly lasers. Don't get hit by those. I also grabbed the coin here because I had only 2 health. And then to make him punch immediately again, just stand in the place he just punched, and he'll go right back down. So next is a trick called a punch cancel. If you're a beginner and you're not comfortable going for it, then don't worry. It only saves a little bit of time, but I go for it here because I want to show it. So he drops meteors. In this fight, he only drops 2, and they have the same like circly thing as the punch does. So you want to make sure to not get hit by these. If you get hit by these, that's bad, because then Bowser will punch you and you'll be stunned and you won't be able to hit him. And then you'll have to wait a whole nother cycle, and that's just boring. So he's gonna punch, and you want to make sure, obviously, at least one of these survives. I messed it up here. Both of them got hit, and if that happens, you need to go through another punch, and then another meteor shower or whatever. So I guess that's a good example of what happens if you mess it up. But yeah. So the first hit on this Bowser fight and on the third Bowser fight, um, we want to delay hitting him as much as possible, and you'll see what I mean. So you see, I just kind of stand here until right about here. Pretty much a little bit after Bowser pulls his fist out of the ground is when I ground pound. That's called the punch cancel. Um, if you're not comfortable doing this, you can just hit him immediately, and you'll have to go through an extra punch, but otherwise, this is how it works. So if you wait to punch him or wait to hit him, you'll see that you actually hit him while he's beginning his punch attack. By doing that, he actually completely skips over it. Oh, nice VLC glitch. Um, so if you don't go for that, or if you miss it, and you go too early, then what Bowser would do is he would do another punch right here, and then you'd have to wait for the punch before he does more meteors. But if you delay the hit, he'll skip the punch and just immediately drop meteors. You only need to do that on the first hit. The other 3, you're fine. You can see I almost completely screw this up again, but I don't. I hit him pretty late here, but you don't have to. Second phase is pretty much the same as the first Bowser fight, except, you know, the meteors, there's only 2 of them, and they shoot out spooky things. And the punches also. Another thing about this fight that makes Bowser a little bit more difficult, you want to probably keep in mind, is his shell's hitbox is bigger. I mentioned in the first Bowser fight that if you hit his shell, then it like deflects and you don't hit him. In the first Bowser fight, that's not really a problem, but in the second Bowser fight, this shell, if you're not like spot on, you can hit the shell. The shell hitbox is bigger, and when Bowser does his punch, he actually pulls his fist out of the ground quicker. So you don't have as much time to hit him. And then those same changes are also in the third Bowser fight, except they're more exaggerated. The shell hitbox is even bigger, and he pulls his fist out even quicker. On the third Bowser fight, this absolutely would have hit the shell and bounced off. Luckily on the second Bowser fight, I'm fine. And then yeah, third hit or fourth hit, pretty much the same deal. If you watched the World 2 video, I went a little more in depth in like how to maximize your speed here, but as a beginner, it's better to play it safe than to go for the quickest strats that only save a few frames or seconds. And yeah, that's about it for World 4. Wrapping it up here. Bit of a longer video compared to the others, but World 4's hard, so I think it deserves a longer video. Yeah. I'll see you for World 5. World 5 is a little easier than World 4, so hopefully that one's not over an hour long like this one was. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this. Hope you learned something. hopefully. And yeah, bye.